Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack the latest in the mining industry. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Ashni.
Now, Switzerland is taking advantage of PGMs, largely through its green hydrogen rollout.
Yeah, I'm very happy with Hyundai, particularly Hyundai Truck and Bus, because they've set off an initiative in Switzerland which can set a model for a lot of other countries. Switzerland has got a lot of hydropower, which gives it a big advantage in creating green hydrogen, and it's got the water, so that is always very, very important. But at the same time, the way they've got this going is really meaningful. And you know, they've brought in already 55 trucks. These trucks are fuel cell driven trucks. So you've got this hydrogen fuel cell truck. Unfortunately, it's a left-hand drive truck, so they'd have to have a right-hand drive truck if we wanted to do anything in South Africa. But the idea is that they'll have, 1,600 of these by 2023. And the model that they've got is to set up a whole lot of partnerships. So it's not as if Hyundai is going to do this on its own. It's got a new Hyundai mobility hub, that company that's been set up, and then they align to companies like Hydrospider that provide the hydrogen. They link to other companies that own the fuel stations, the refueling stations, and they benefit from the fact that the road taxes for heavy haulage in Switzerland are not imposed when you've got emission-free trucks. So that's a very important thing. And to get those emission-free trucks, you need platinum group metals. And to get platinum group metals, you've got to come to Southern Africa, and normally to South Africa. So that's a great boon for us. And we see it really rolling out. The model there, I was just looking at our taxis here. If we had the water, Toyota would have an even bigger business because you see there that it's 17 of these trucks that give the critical mass to a refueling station. 15 of these trucks, 15 trucks. That would take 700 vehicles. It would take 700 fuel cell vehicles, but only 15 of these trucks. So that makes a lot of sense, that if you actually get 15 trucks into the market in an area, you've got the refueling, you've already got a critical mass, you can go, and then if any people get cars in that, they know where to come. So this will be the starting point that they could actually move to many other countries, but Switzerland is starting it, and it seems to be quite nicely progressive. Not fast or anything, but nicely progressive, and something that the rest of the world could copy.
And the word is that PGM demand is set to outstrip stagnant supply.
Well, I tell you, the world over, you've got this move into hydrogen. And when you move into hydrogen, you need platinum group metals if you use the PEM technology. And we see in Switzerland they're using that PEM technology because it's so flexible. It makes so much sense. And, with that technology comes platinum plus iridium. And then you've got the fuel cells, which have got the platinum. So demand is really set to rocket. And we see that Dr. David Davis has done this in-depth study, and we know that already palladium and rhodium are out there with rocketing prices. He says platinum will be the next to rocket, and we're looking at South Africa's ability to create more platinum. And he says in the next 3 years he thinks there's going to be a serious shortage, and there doesn't seem to be the planning to get enough platinum out, because they're also looking now with the demand for palladium and rhodium. They're going to upper group 2 reef rather than Merensky reef, which is more platinum rich. So they've got to now probably do both. They've got to start looking at how are they going to supply the world with this platinum that's going to be in huge demand. And if they don't, you will get other technologies moving in because the price will go so high. Already, all you hear about when they talk about hydrogen fuel cells and the electrolyzers that are needed is, the price of the platinum group metals are quite high. So you don't want them to really rocket because scientists will find something else. They'll find another way to do it, which will really hurt us here. So I think South Africa Incorporated needs to put its head down. The government needs to say, this is happening. The government needs to be right in on it and see what more mines can be developed, and that will really I don't even know whether that will satisfy the market, because even these upgrades coming through in Zimbabwe and Russia are not going to be enough. You need to be something much bigger. I'm very glad that Sedi Bello, through the Pallinghurst Group, they're going ahead now with a 60 million ounce expansion. Obviously, they're not going to get all those ounces out immediately, but in their mining there, it's open cast and it's quite flexible, so they could really move fast to try and satisfy the demand. And at the same time, they are going to be green, so they could be in a very good position to supply. We know that we want these platinum group companies to be green, but a lot of them are quite slow at doing this, and we still have situations where there's smelting. The smelting takes a lot of electricity, and it has a big carbon footprint. Whereas if they went to hydrometallurgy, that could change. And it would be good to see pilot plants going up now to try and move towards that hydrometallurgy, because that is going to be the way to go, using less electricity, preparing the metals much better for the market. In all ways, that's better. So there needs to be, people need to put their thinking caps on in the platinum group metals market to make sure we can keep supplying that, meeting the demand, which is going to be very, very high, as we can see at this point. But at the same time, also going green themselves, so that there can't be complaints and people saying, no, rather use this and use that. We must hold on to this market very tightly.
And lastly, Martin, Chris Griffith is set to be Goldfields CEO designate when Nick Holland retires in April.
Yes, so Nick Holland will retire 6 months earlier. He was going to do it in September, but now that they've actually got a candidate and a CEO designate, he will, Chris Griffith will take over on the 1st of April. And Chris has had a lot of experience. So, we've met him in iron ore when he did an incredible job there at a time when the Kumba iron ore company was booming, and he gave so much money to workers. He set up a fund there and distributed some of the good earnings to those workers, which was, changed many people's lives down in the Northern Cape. And then because of his great performance at Kumba Iron Ore, he was moved to Anglo-American Platinum under Cynthia Carroll, and he really was told, you've got to fix this at a time when it was starting to be challenged. And he's done an incredible job in the platinum group metals sector. Now he's going into gold. And of course, I had to put the question to him last night, would Goldfields be averse to looking at platinum group metals as a precious metals company? We see, Sibanye has become a precious metals company. It does gold and it does platinum group metals. What are the chances of this? And the reply was that, if you bring value to the board, they're likely to want that value. And I reminded them that this Goldfields was a precious metals company. It was in gold, and it was also going into platinum. And they'd bought some assets, and they were planning to develop these and get into the market. And then the big downturn, I presume, in the platinum group metals market, they moved out. But what about now? With his expertise, wouldn't it be, if there is value, time to go into this, time to also produce more of these because of the demand building up? And there was not a situation where they'd say no, they won't do it. But of course, they're not going to say yes, they're going to do it at this stage. But they say if there is a value proposition, you look at it. So he's going to be a very interesting figure there, because he's just at the right age, and he can move in at these mid-50s and really make a mark in this company, as we saw him do with Anglo-American Platinum. And also put it to him, will he be using sun energy, which we know they will do at South Deep, and they're doing already in Australia under Nick Holland, has done a very good job there. But what about these diesel trucks underground? What about those fumes? And they seem to be not averse to going into a different mold underground there, which is cleaner. But of course, when you produce hydrogen from that sun power, you use the excess sun power, and you need water. And we know that where he was before at Mogalakwena, they got water. We've seen those pictures. So you need mine water that would then has to be purified and turned into hydrogen, but that could then be used to drive your underground trucks, which would be very good for workers under there rather than being subjected to diesel fumes. So I think a lot's going to happen under Chris, but you know, he said also an option is, because there's so much growth there already, to just put your head down and work, because you know they've got expansions in Chile, they've got expansions all over the world, and this company was largely South African. Now it's largely international in Africa as well, Ghana, in South America, in Australia, where they also use a lot of renewable energy. So I think the new modernization will come through under Chris, and I think also value creation.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
A great pleasure, Sashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.